Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. No. Wait.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Marvel Mondays. This is your host, Tex-Mex Smorty, and we got quite an episode today. So before we get started on that, let's go ahead and bring the panel in. Today we have a bit more of a slimmer than usual panel.
Slim pickings.
Yeah, of course. And before I got even to introduce him, we got our co-host, Mr. Oyman. How's it going, man?
How's it going? Hope everyone is having a great first day of the month. We're now in August.
Wow.
Hard to believe this month is just flying by.
Yeah.
We've been doing this show for like 5 months now, something like that.
What are we in?
Close to it.
August. Towards the end of the month, it'll be 5 months.
March, right?
Late March, like last week of March.
Late March. Okay, so about 4.5 months.
Yeah, so in a couple weeks we'll be there. But we are, I think, episode 16 already. So it's slowly climbing. Time is just flying by. And of course, you probably heard him in the background. We have Miss Cap with us today. What is going on with you, Miss Cap?
It's been going, man. My body's tired from doing a lot of stuff this weekend, so I'm hoping to kind of rest a little bit, and then I go back to work, So
yeah,
summer's over.
I saw that you went to Anime Con and you shared some photos with us. There were some pretty cool MCU costumes to look like right there, weren't there?
Oh yeah, no, Anime Fest was like super awesome. I saw a really good Scarlet Witch. I saw Star-Lord. I saw a really good Matt Murdock. That was good. Not Daredevil, Matt Murdock. Anyway. There's some really good cosplayers out there. Like, I commend them and their ability to do that. So, yeah, awesome. I may have spent way too much money, but that's okay. It was completely worth it. It was a really good weekend.
Glad to hear that. And of course, we also do have JT here with us today. What is up, JT? Did you end up going to Anime Fest as well with Miss Cap or no?
I did on Saturday. I got some cool posters, which I'm going to put up on our new apartment. For those of everybody listening, so we moved apartments, so it's really awesome over the weekend. my body's tired, but
busy
it's
weekend.
great. And it was awesome. Thank you, Morty and Mr. Oyman, for coming out and helping out. That
Yeah, of
means
course,
a lot
man.
to Miss
Anytime.
Cap and I.
We're here for you.
Yeah, and it's great. I got the hookup for my PS4, my PS5, playing like some few games on there, but I'm ready to get this episode started.
Well, I mean, with Marvel content, you should see about putting in that PS4 version of Guardians of the Galaxy and trying out the ray traced version on there. It definitely looks a lot different on the PS5 when you got all those like reflections and such.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's really neat. And speaking of Guardians, I personally spent the weekend watching both Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, and Volume 2, and man, I forgot how great those movies are. Especially number
Wow.
2. Well, like they hold up. Like the first one still made me laugh in various parts. The jokes haven't gotten old and stale for me. And then the second one, I thought it still isn't as good as the first one, and I still think that way even after the rewatch. But it does have its moments that do outshine the first one, and some of the most beautiful shots in the MCU in general. Great, fantastic movies. Did any
Sounds
of y'all?
like you and I had a very James Gunn filled weekend because I watched The Suicide Squad last night. So.
Oh,
man,
nice.
nice.
Not to bring DC into it, but like just
no matter how much we try, it always shoves its head in there. But of course, hopefully, Mr. Slucius XL might be joining us. I feel like it'd be weird doing a Marvel Makeover for the Hulk without him. But
that doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel
but
right. We need him on here.
He is gonna try to make it, but he didn't make any promises. He says he couldn't guarantee that he'll come, but he'll do his darn best to try to, because this is right up his alley. But let's give him some time. I mean, we do have some news this week. Not a whole heck of a lot, nothing groundbreaking like last week, but
last week was crazy.
So on the news section, we do have more info came out this weekend of the poor treatment from Disney and Marvel towards the just sad case of the VFX teams. It's just some nasty stuff that we'll get into it a little bit more. And then, of course, Feige also said that the Fantastic Four won't be an origin story for the film. We'll see how we feel about that. And then, of course, the director of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton, is attached to direct Kang Dynasty and a few other MCU projects, allegedly. I know that the Kang Dynasty one has been confirmed. The other two are still speculation. Are they not, Mr. Oyman, or are they confirmed as well?
I literally have not heard anything besides King Dynasty, so I have no idea what you're
okay.
about.
Well, I
assume the other two are speculation since I haven't heard of them yet.
Okay. So let's start off with the that one actually. So we do know that the next Avengers movie is going to have him. The speculation / rumored ones that he's doing, of course, is Shang-Chi sequel that hasn't been formally announced, and apparently he's going to be one like the main guy behind Wonder Man as well. But speaking on the actual confirmed one, which is Avengers Kang Dynasty, how do you guys feel about that based on what we've seen from him already in the MCU? We'll start off with you this time, JT.
I feel like with Shang-Chi, the most amazing thing I liked about the movie is the character development. Like Shang-Chi was like this type of guy who didn't really know anything, and then he found out his roots with the 10 rings, and then he became like a great superhero. Like the pacing of the movie was kind of slow in some parts, which I feel like in the Avengers movie needs to be like quick pace and everybody needs to have a time to shine. But I think that Destin Daniel Cretton really did a good job actually making those characters shine with Shang-Chi and his father and the backstory behind him and how they met their mother and, his friend. And so I think it's going to be like a lot of humor, I think, but it's going to have a lot of serious parts as it did with Shang-Chi. So I think he's a great choice in terms of directing the first major Avengers Kang Dynasty film. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. Do you feel the same, Miss Cap?
Yeah, no. Watching Shang-Chi was actually really nice. I almost wish I watched it in theaters when it first came out. I don't know the reason why I didn't, but that's okay. But I actually, the directing of it is really nice. I wouldn't say it's slow in some phases. I think it actually had a really good progression. So
Mhm.
whatever he does with the Kang Dynasty, I think it's gonna be something never seen before. Or he may bring something in new. It all depends on how it will lead up to act to the movie. So you know what? I'm gonna leave it there to the point where I have faith in him. He did really well with Shang-Chi, so let's see what he does with this movie.
All right. And what about you, Mr. Oyman? I know that you'd probably are. You said you really enjoyed the directing style of Shang-Chi. So do you agree with the rest of the panel so far about this?
Yeah, I'd say I probably agree pretty well. I mean, I did think that Shang-Chi was very well directed, especially for a guy who's mostly done smaller budget indie movies. This was his first kind of break into big budget directing, and I think there were a couple pacing issues kind of
Mhm.
in the second half of the movie, more so than the first. I thought the first half was very well paced, but nothing that like really brought it down or anything. I still think the whole movie was really, really great overall. And when I first heard the choice, it was like in my head, I was like, well, it's probably not what I would have gone with. But the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I can see him handling it, and we'll see what the main thing I'm kind of curious to see is how his directing style for Kang Dynasty will compare and contrast against whoever ends up directing Secret
Yeah,
Wars.
I was actually gonna
If
bring
he's
that
gonna
up to you guys. I'm like, so they announced that he's doing this, so they're. I'm surprised they didn't announce both of them at the same time. So that leaves a very big, obvious like speculation window of they're probably gonna have two directors for each of the
Mhm.
movies. And do you
Mm-hmm.
do you guys think that might be a little bit conflicting, considering that unlike Endgame and Infinity War and all those, these are coming out in the same year allegedly if everything goes right.
yeah.
Do you guys think that that's a wise choice to split it up like that, or do you guys think that they should have that it's
Well,
gonna
I
be
think
okay?
they're gonna be very different movies. So I mean, one's gonna be
Yeah.
dealing with Battle World, and one's gonna be dealing with the Kang Dynasty. So I think that they're wanting different directors to bring a different kind of flair, so that way audiences aren't just literally watching part one and part two of the same movie. They're getting two different Avengers movies.
Well, yeah, but you could say the same about Endgame, though. One of them was Thanos' movie. The next movie was about them going back through time and such like that. But
Mm-hmm.
that cohesiveness between the directing styles of the Russo brothers in both movies kind of did make the, like, let's say the glue of stitching one movie connecting to the other one a little bit easier to follow through,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes any
Mhm.
sense.
I
Yeah.
think for me is that but since the Avengers movies in 2025 will be like 5 months, I don't think one director can film both movies in a constricted time period. But with Endgame and Infinity War, they did it all in one time. Then they kind of broke it up into you know 1 year and then the following year, so they had time to kind of do a lot of edits or whatnot and do a lot of promotion for Endgame and Infinity War. But in this case, like 5 months of each other, that's kind of difficult for like one director. So I'm glad that they're doing it with two different styles.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think because I think that with one director, it'd be like time, like time constrict.
You wouldn't give
on
it
them.
justice. It would just be like
Maybe feel a
if
bit
they
rushed
did
or
do,
something.
yeah, it'll
Mhm.
feel rushed. And like JT was saying, like it with the Russo brothers, they had ample amount of time, ample amounts of years. They had a year between each movie.
Mhm.
They were able to make the edits and the things that they needed to make a really two great movies. But with you know these two, it's like there's only a few months behind. So like I completely agree with like them doing two separate directors, so they can do it simultaneously, but it also probably feel completed once put together. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
And oh man, who ripped one? But in another question within the same thing, I'll give this one to Mr. Oyman. Like I know that you like the directing style of him for Shang-Chi and such. I'm not too sure with his previous works, but how do you feel about him in terms of basically? Do you think he would, based on what we have seen with him in the MCU with Shang-Chi, do you think he has a good chance of pulling off an ensemble film? Or do you think that might be a little bit of a hurdle for him to overcome?
Y'all gotta watch Short Term 12. Short Term 12 is an incredible movie. It is very much a smaller kind of indie drama comedy film, but it has a really great cast in it. Brie Larson's in it. He's actually worked with Brie Larson in like every movie that he's done. But I do think he'll just given like what he can bring to characters in general with all of his work, and seeing how well he did it with Shang-Chi. I mean, it's really gonna depend on what the writers, who they get for the writers for Kang Dynasty. But I thought he handled the villain of Wenwu, the Mandarin, really really well in Shang-Chi, and I'm curious to see what he like takes from directing a character like that and directing a character like Kang the Conqueror. And no, I think he's gonna be a really good choice. I mean, is he gonna be the best choice? Who knows? Honestly, we'll have to wait until we see both movies, both Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, before we could be like, oh yeah, they should have gotten the same guy to do both movies, or oh no, it makes sense that they got two different guys. So, I mean, it's just kind of like one of those things we won't know until they're both out. But
Well said.
I think I think he's gonna be a good choice in the long run.
Well, we had another person come sneaking in through the back door. It looks like Mr. Slucius XL did make it. What is up, man? What the hell? All right, I guess he snuck in through the back door and he couldn't even hear us. But we'll wait for him to come in. But on other terms, or news, like we mentioned, Feige did say in an interview that the Fantastic Four won't be an origin story, and I don't quite know how I feel about this, honestly, personally, because I know who the Fantastic Four are, and I know they're Marvel's first family, but it's been a while since they've been in the limelight, so I know probably a lot of newer generation audiences, especially the ones coming into the MCU, might not be too familiar with them. What do you guys think?
I personally think, like, yes, it may not be familiar, but I think it'd be familiar enough for them to just not do a whole origin story. Because they've done it before, they've done it twice now, and it hasn't really worked out very well. So I kind of like how he's just kind of just go into a new direction and be like, all right, they've always been there. Let's just get like where they need to be, you know. So
Yeah, like I personally feel all 100% on board with that, because again, I know their story countless times. It's always been pretty similar. And what's it called? So I personally don't have a problem with it. Do you agree with Miss Cap, JT?
I do, because even though the 2005 Fantastic Four movie is kind of cheesy, it still gives a good backstory of who they are. Astronauts out of space, going out of space, stole a flare, impacted their powers some other way, and I think that, I mean, for like the next generation Marvel, fanatics, I think the original Fantastic Four film by 20th Century Fox is kind of a good introduction to the characters, plus like the comic books, plus like the TV shows on Disney Plus probably have some Fantastic Four shows or reference to them in some of the Marvel shows. So like there's plenty of opportunities to kind of explore like who the Fantastic Four family is before we actually see them again rebooted. But yeah, I agree, like there's no need origin story, just jump right in, especially like like with the Batman in DC, like Matt Reeves knows who the Batman was, jumped right in to a detective origin story, and I think that this would be great, like a fresh take, for the Fantastic Four.
couldn't have said it better myself. And well, I'll ask Mr. Oyman a different question. So, do you think that with because I know a lot of people probably Miss Cap said there was 2 versions of it already, and there was and wasn't, because I think the Fantastic Fat Four Stick was a flop, wasn't it? Not a lot of people went to go see that, because of bad word of mouth, I guess. But
yeah, not a lot of people saw that one.
Yeah. So do you agree with JT's take, and also do you think that Mr. Fantastic's introduction in Multiverse of Madness was kind of like their low key way of kind of sliding him in, so that it gives him a few years so people could start kind of being like, ooh, that guy looked kind of cool. I don't know too much about him. Maybe I should go read up on him, or like JT said, see some of the cartoons or the early 2000s movie on Disney Plus. Or do you think, like, I mean, there were some people screaming after Multiverse of Madness, being like, why the hell is Wanda bad? I didn't watch WandaVision. So do you think they're asking too much from the audience to go do some research, or do you think, like, nah, fuck that audience?
Okay, I know that they say it's not going to be an origin movie, but I guarantee you, you won't have to do any kind of outside research or even have seen other movies to get who the Fantastic Four are, the way they're going to do this movie. Now, again, I don't know. They haven't even written it. There's no director, but you could tell that this is like they're going to have lines of dialogue that explain how they got their powers. There will be some exposition, as all movies do, that will fill the audience into how these characters got to be the way they are. And just whoever they get cast, that will be what brings the audience into this Fantastic Four and getting them on board with who the characters are by seeing how they interact, how the characters are written. I don't think you're going to need to do any kind of outside research or know who they are, because they're not as well known as like Batman and Spider-Man, but I think most people will have a pretty good sense about who they're supposed to be prior to seeing the movie. I don't know if we're going to necessarily see them introduced in other projects beforehand. They could, but I would prefer they don't, but whatever, we'll see.
Okay, and could you hear us, Lucius, or are you still unable to hear us? Lucius, you there? Man, somebody's ripping a big one, man.
Well, so he just wrote that his mic blew out and his phone is broke, and so
What the heck is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, Lucius, well, if you could get through us from another device, go ahead, because I do want to have you on for this episode. But try to jump in at any time. You know how to get on there. But moving on. So the bigger news this week was the fact that it's still the same news, more or less, that we got a week or two ago, with how Marvel was like giving a bunch of like hurdles in the way of VFX teams, and that's why that paired with COVID is why we've seen some questionable visuals when it comes to this past year and a half, let's say, of Marvel properties in that visual department. But the more info that came out was the fact that they took it even a step further, and it looks like most of these companies, even if they wanted to work with them, they might not be able to, because it looks like Disney and Marvel were setting these high expectations, and if you didn't meet what they considered met the requirements to their liking, they would also blacklist you. That to me is really messed up. I don't know what they're thinking over there, especially because, again, they put the odds against these VFX team. Do you think now that this type of info is out that they'll kind of reel that back in, or do you guys think that this they won't care? Like they're gonna go in with that arrogant, like, I'm too big, I don't care. You guys are coming to me, not the other way around. What do you think, Miss Cat?
Thinking about it, I think as big as a company as Marvel and Disney is, it's like that staple, like, oh, this big company do we want, and we can, you'll still get, still get the money you kind of deserve, and we'll still do whatever we want with you, whether you're with us or not. So it kind of sucks that these like visual effects people like are not getting the recognition they deserve or not getting paid the way they should. I really hope that my really only hope is that like Disney and Marvel will see that with them having these expectations on these artists, that it's going to pretty much put a damper on their shows, on their movies, on whatever creative design they want to do in the future. Because as uh, as watchers, as people who like love them, it's like, oh, why is your quality going so down? And it's like, because you're not giving the recognition you deserve to the people who are creating these things. You're not giving them enough time to create them. And then on top of that, you're not paying them the way you should. So to us, it's like, why would I want to watch something that you're not even like feel like you're not fully invested in? So I really hope that they just, change their mindset and be like, give these artists the recognition they deserve. Give the money they want. You have the money, just give it to them, create a great product, recognition deserved, and then let us watchers, be the be the judge of like if it's good or not. But as that's all I got to say about it.
And
it's just really sad that this happens.
Yeah, it truly is. Do you feel the same way, Mr. Oyman? Do you think like they'll actually start changing stuff because of this?
Well, unless the VFX companies start to unionize, there's not really much that can be said, because these companies are the ones that are saying, they're the ones, doing the bids in terms of how much the projects, like how much money they're going to accept for taking on these projects. And if another one comes out and says, we'll do the project for even less money, then Disney will be like, all right, great. So at this point, it's really up to the VFX companies themselves.
Yeah, but at the
kind
end
of is out of Disney's hands. I mean, Disney
kind of sucks.
Well, they do have.
It does, but the thing is, like, this has been going on for literally years. I mean, it's just that COVID kind of exacerbated it.
Yeah, it has been going on for years from different companies, but it's definitely looks like it's starting to get to the breaking point. And honestly,
no, it's not on it. It's literally just the fact that it's Marvel and Disney is the biggest thing out right now. That's the only reason why these companies are the ones that are getting like the headlines like they are, when it's really the way that all of these divisions have been treated within the film industry for years and years by all studios. And it's also the fact that there are so many projects that are in need of extravagant VFX.
Well, that's what I was going to mention, but it hasn't been this way, like you say, because before, you had a bunch of these, all that, but now with Marvel having almost a project a month, they're taking up a big portion of probably the market. I know that there's a shit ton of VFX teams out there, but eventually if you start blacklisting a bunch of them, or you start making enemies amongst some of them, it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. Yeah, you need, or they need you for a paycheck, but you also need them for the work. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Like, it's been like that before, but now they're starting to be more outspoken about it, because they know they do have some leverage, and they know that before you had Warner Brothers, Fox, all these asking for their help, basically, and Marvel and Disney were part of it, but now you have not only Disney, like their other departments, like their other live action stuff, but you also have Marvel, who is asking a lot, short time frame, very secretive about their stuff, and they went from asking maybe, let's say, 4 projects a year, even less in some cases, less than a decade ago, to now doing 13 in 1 year. So
true.
Don't you think that's...
And even if you look at DC, like, they've been pushing off all of their projects because of this very reason. They don't want to time crunch and put so many people under stress. So.
Well, and you could see the
Marvel,
outcome.
Disney's about those deadlines.
Yeah. That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't know though. I feel like everyone's kind of shitting on the CGI quality of these shows and movies as of late, but like they haven't always been that great. Like they've been pretty consistent throughout, but like just look at Black Panther. That was 5-6 years ago that was being made, and it was no better or worse VFX wise than what we've been getting.
I would
And that's
say
just one
it
example.
was better up until the end, but like 90% of that movie was actually pretty solid looking in the VFX. These are starting to be a little bit more obvious.
But I'm not seeing what everyone else is seeing in terms of like the only movies that have come out recently that have had like noticeably bad effects was like Miss Marvel and maybe Spider-Man No Way Home.
Well,
But even then, it wasn't like unacceptably bad. It was
Black
just,
Widow wasn't that great either. Looking at sometimes.
Yeah, true.
Black Widow, yeah.
I think the only one that actually looked all right was Eternals.
Eternals, Shang-Chi looked pretty solid. It was just
that one was pretty cool. Yeah, it was a lot, but I will give them that.
And Multiverse of Madness looked pretty solid for the most part. I didn't really have any problem with how that had such a crazy ass directed style that you kind of could overlook any kind of questionable VFX, I suppose. But you're right, with the amount of projects that have tripled now, not just doubled but tripled in the amount of years, and with them cutting costs or cutting their ties with a lot of VFX companies for not doing good enough work despite time crunching them. I mean, Disney they'll start to get the memo and be like, maybe we should slow down and maybe, I don't know, not put the original asking price as so low for like really pay these people for their amount of time. I mean, these guys work like overtime like crazy. I mean, what I was hearing that what was once a team of like would take like 10 people to do a certain shot for Marvel projects is now being whittled down to like 2 or 3 people. And it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. Well, hopefully that changes again. I won't hold my breath on it. I just feel like with this news being out and crunch culture in both the movie and gaming industry being a little bit more looked into, with how inhumane some of the treatments are, I hope that they definitely do find a way to like meet more of a balance of it, because it does suck. Hopefully things get better for them. And speaking of balance, let's just go ahead and go into our main topic over here. I got a little clip playing in the background of that just released today that shows Hulk doing balance and teaching She-Hulk some stuff. And I thought, hey, with She-Hulk coming out, what is it, next week? Or is it the week after, Mr. Whitman? I don't remember.
2 more weeks.
2 more weeks. So with the Miss Marvel, She-Hulk coming out this month. I decided maybe the big green guy, he's in need of a Marvel makeover, just like we did Howard the Duck over there, because the scene right here that I have playing works within the context of the show, but I feel like Margarita Hulk is I don't know. It seems like there's like it should have not reached that point, because it's something that's I know has happened in the comics, but it's weird. It's weird to me how we went from really cool Hulk and all of a sudden he's chilling at a beach with margaritas. It just
Thanos really got to him.
Yeah, well that's the thing. Right after Thanos kicked his ass, he went like. Yep. He stopped being cool. He didn't even have anything in Endgame or Infinity War where he actually did something other than the snap. Of course, that was cool in fashion, but it wasn't Hulk cool. It wasn't Hulk smash. So I'm
interested to see how his arm gets better, because there's like no scars or anything on his right arm for doing that snap. If you see in this.
Oh yeah,
like,
that is true.
He's still in the sling at Banner, and I don't know how much time passes between him being Bruce Banner in the show with the sling on and then being Hulk without any even scars or anything.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's something that for me, as citing one, I want to go as this far. Sightings of Clyde in the comments say it's disgusting, but I wouldn't go as far as saying disgusting.
I have no problem with it, but obviously everyone, it's not going to appease to everyone.
Well, you got to admit there's a little bit of a, like, I wouldn't want to call it regression, because he didn't fully regress. His character, Bruce Banner-wise, moved forward, but
he's going to be Hulk again. Everyone needs to chill out about this. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's pussy whipped. I'm like, this is just him right now.
Yeah, but don't you agree that it's just weird that we were able to get this? I mean, one of the things is on the thumbnail that I put that I found the weirdest is the Hulk has glasses. I get that he found a balance between him, but why are his eyes bad? He's still muscular. He's still one in his mind.
Still had his glasses. Did you not see Endgame?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It reached to that level in the character that's like, why is it like this? I feel like they could have gotten the same effect but toned down a little, because it's just weird seeing this big cool green monster and all of a sudden he has terrible eye vision like his human self. It's just weird to me. Again, it's not something I would say I would have a huge problem with.
With that, you do have a point, because he's talking about how, like, oh yeah, because of our Hulk spells, we can't get drunk or whatever. We can't get sick from drinking too much because we regenerate. So you're right. It's kind of like, well, if he's in Hulk mode, why can't he? Although, who knows? Maybe classic Hulk also couldn't see very well either. He just get angry all the time and smash stuff and couldn't actually see clearly.
He's not. He doesn't know. He was just gonna smash the Avengers and think it was a Chitauri. Man, they got lucky then, I guess. But it's weird. Honestly, it's just weird to me. So that's why I thought we needed to do a Marvel makeover for the big green guy. So let's get that started. All right. So let's have you, JT, go first. How would you handle the Marvel makeover for the big green guy?
This is hard because I think the character was a good job, but his progression is not that well. So what I would do is I would take the blueprint off of the Incredible Hulk back in 2008. No, 5.
2008. Or are you talking about 2003?
No, I'm talking about 2008, I believe, with the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton plays.
Yep.
I think that his Hulk was aggressive. I mean, he had heart and soul, and he kind of protected, everybody in that city. So if they would take elements of that incorporated within the MCU, especially, how about this? How about transfer back to like what he was back in the Avengers, where he destroyed all the ships, and I don't know, just like to me, it's like he feels watered down. I feel like in the first Avengers movie, he was the strongest Avenger out there, but now, after Age of Ultron and especially after Infinity War, he kind of just slip in the shadows and not really do much, especially with Black Widow past. I mean, I don't know, just some complications to his character that I don't know. Like he needs to get at least a redemption arc to go back to his former self, where he was smashing people and having the heart to like fight bad guys. But right now he's not. I know that it would change down the road, but I don't know. It's kind of tough to watch. And so, but if I were, I would do a makeover. I would go back to the 2008 Incredible Hulk, kind of take some elements of his persona and try to translate it to the MCU and see how that goes.
Well, would you eventually have it reach a similar fashion, maybe not as exaggerated for the lols as Marvel did with Professor Hulk, or would you have kept them up until this point strictly with no sight of Smart Hulk, kept them as like Savage Hulk?
I would kept him as Savage Hulk to a certain degree. I think that there was. I mean, hopefully down the future, I think there will be a time for Professor Hulk. Right now, I think this is Savage Hulk time. I don't think there's any need for Professor Hulk right now.
I disagree, but all right.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, JT?
No.
All right, so moving on. What about you, Miss Cap? How would you treat this MCU Hulk, whether it's very similar or would you add different projects along the line, anything that you would personally do to him to better improve where he's at right now?
So I was thinking this was it just all I think it really all goes back to Edward Norton and that 2008 movie, The Incredible Hulk. I think they really had something going with it. The strongest movie, and it honestly wasn't that great. But I think because when they got to the Avengers, they changed the actor to Mark Ruffalo. It kind of changed the way we looked at him. So I think if whatever reason we still had Edward Norton, I think we probably would have had a different version of Hulk than what we see today. It would have progressed that way. Not that I'm mad about it. I really love Ruffalo as Hulk. He's done a really good job. But I think it was just that disconnect, and I think if we just go back to 2008 and figure out what happened there, I think we would have been trying to, all right, how can we integrate what happened, the events that happened in Incredible Hulk, into whatever happens in the future, like we did with all the other movies. I think it's that one movie. So my makeover would be just starting over, the right, sticking with the same actor, because that actor is going to bring that character out no matter how the way he thinks that character should be. The fact that we had Edward Norton and then boom, and then later on Mark Ruffalo was we got two separate Hulks in the same type of universe, but not quite in the same universe. And I think that's what kind of disconnected it. But as JT was saying, just from time after Age of Ultron, where he's battling between himself, Hulk, and then himself, and who does he really want to be, or who takes over for what. And then by the time we get a great example, really, Ragnarok. In Ragnarok, we saw Bruce Banner, and then we saw Hulk. Saw that Hulk also had some sort of intelligence in himself, well, and he's not just this big bad monster who just crashes and smashes everything. He actually has some sort of intelligence. And so we got to Infinity Endgame, it was just where did it all go? He's he went into himself, Hulk didn't want to come out, and then they emerged him, thinking that, okay, if we have Banner and Hulk together, it would make sense in a way, but to me, it really doesn't. So just really I would just go back, fix that point of origin, and then work your way into making Hulk the way that he should be. And he's there's Bruce Banner, and then there's Hulk, and Hulk's with his own intelligence, like we saw in Ragnarok. But hey, I mean, I'm not at where he's at right now. It does seem kind of like they're making him as kind of a joke, and it's not coming off the way it should.
Yep.
Or they want it to be.
Quick shout out. There is a comment that I do agree with, that I feel like both JT and you, Miss Cap, also agree with. Bruce Banner himself is in the chat. He says the endgame version of him was was all Banner, no Hulk. And I feel that way, yeah, because he did look like the Hulk, but his face was Banner. Mm-hmm. He acted like Banner, and he didn't do anything. He just said jokes. He never actually did anything Hulkish. I feel like they could have better balanced that out. It did feel like it was just buffer green Mark Ruffalo, and they said we met in the middle, but not really. You just kind of took over his body and ain't doing jack shit with it. But I'll let you.
Ragnarok so well because it kind of gave us like there's Bruce Banner and his intelligence and trying to get there, and then there's Hulk. Still does the way he does, smashes things and does, he also has some, he does have an intelligence and is his own essential person. And so mixing them together was just like that really Hulk. That's like just Bruce Banner in green skin, So there's kind of a bit of a disconnect with that.
All right. And anything else you would add to your makeover, or are you good?
I got to the point I was trying to make.
Oh, okay. Keep going. We got sidetracked. Sorry.
No. I think that's really just going back to just that very beginning in 2008 with the Incredible Hulk, sticking with the same actor throughout that entire process. I think would have made a bigger difference in the way we see Hulk and Bruce Banner.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree with that. Anything else you want to add?
Nope, I think I got it.
All right, so I think the one that's going to have a slightly opposing view is, of course, my co-host over here, Mr. Oyman. What would you do differently?
What would I do differently?
Yep.
Absolutely nothing.
There's got to be something you would do that you change it.
So here's the thing. Y'all are like complaining about how, the Hulk's gone. We're going to get the Hulk back. The Hulk is a different personality from Bruce Banner. Y'all are saying like, oh, well, he's just Bruce Banner, but in green skin. Yes, exactly. He's supposed to be only Bruce Banner in green skin. That was the whole point of Endgame. He was like, oh, I took the brains and the brawn, and now I'm the best of both worlds. But he's still only Bruce Banner. The Hulk is in there somewhere. We're going to get the Hulk.
Yeah, but
we don't know when. It might be at the end of She-Hulk. It might be in the next project after. For what they're doing right now with him, it's called character development. I wouldn't change a thing.
So you don't think they have been completely not completely, but underused the Hulk? You don't think he could have had separate projects here and there?
He's not gone. He's going to be back, and they can't do
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about
Universal.
I'm not talking about the future. I'm talking about from when we got him in 2008 to
from what
now.
From what we got, we've seen Hulk progress from being a mindless beast to having a little bit more control over who he is in Ragnarok, to then getting scared by Thanos, to then being taken over by Bruce. And Bruce has never liked going back and forth from being a monster to a man. He likes that he has full control now. But we're not going to see that stick. A lot of people will probably think that we are because we've had him in 2 projects where he's Professor Hulk. But come on, this is Marvel. They know what people want. They know that people want the real Hulk back.
Yes,
we're going to get the real Hulk back.
But what I'm saying is, ignore that Universal was doing, or is the reason there was the constraints. You don't think if they had full liberty, you wouldn't have done separate projects for the Hulk or have them in different scenarios. Let's say instead of Ragnarok, he actually had his own Planet Hulk thing dedicated to him. Where it was him in the ground.
Yeah. No,
that's
I
what
do
I'm saying.
think we could have used a Planet Hulk movie.
What would you have done?
They had to kind of streamline that. But
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, what type of stuff would you do to the Hulk between 2008 till now to kind of maybe even further the development that you were talking about earlier?
I mean, I don't know. The thing with Hulk is he worked better when they put him in the Avengers. Nobody cared about the first 2 Hulk movies because he's not that interesting of a character on his own. Now, Bruce Banner is, but the Hulk himself really worked once they started putting him alongside other superheroes to kind of contrast him. And I don't know. I have had no problems with the way they've done it. I understand a lot of people do have problems with the way Hulk is now, but I wouldn't change a thing.
All right. Well,
interesting take.
I would have
I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I made it pretty obviously. I would have to disagree. Not fully. I don't completely hate what they've done to him, as I mentioned earlier. I feel like you said, they have been developing his character, not as much as I'd hoped for, but the fact that
I mean,
like
well, if
even
anything, I feel like he's gotten more character development than most MCU characters, in my opinion. Like, what other MCU characters can you say have had that much change like the Hulk has, besides maybe Thor, maybe Bucky,
Thor, Bucky, Captain America, Iron Man,
maybe Tony. I wouldn't say Cap has had more character development than Hulk. He hasn't gone through the same kind of changes that Hulk has had. If you really think about it, Cap has been consistently Steve Rogers the entire way through.
No, but he went from.
I'm not saying he didn't. He didn't have more than the Hulk.
I would say he did because he
didn't have as drastic a change.
He went from being the government boy to realizing that the good fight isn't truly what he thought it was, and he went from having that soldier mentality to being like, well, I don't agree with it, I'm going rogue. He ended up becoming a fugitive from being the poster boy of the MCU heroes to a fugitive criminal. And then afterwards he said, you know what, I've been a hero long enough, I need to have a life. And like I feel like
Hulk
you said,
has got a similar kind of development though.
Yeah, Hulk had a lot more of
especially now that
a physical change.
He's had more drastic.
Yeah. Well, it seems more drastic. It seems more drastic because his looks. It's more in your face, obviously, because he went from monster to again.
Well, it's not just
face
that.
down,
it's
ass
like
up.
The way that
yoga.
he was in Age of Ultron, with like choosing being Hulk over like abandoning his heroism and living a life with someone where he could be a parent. Like he genuinely didn't think he could be a parent to someone and raise someone and be romantically involved with someone, but now that he has a handle on, or at least so he thinks he has control over the Hulk, he's now basically parenting Jennifer Walters and trying to train her, trying to teach her, and I think that it's honestly going to kind of bite him in the ass when the real Hulk comes back.
Yeah, well, hopefully not so much bite him in the ass, because there'll be someone who will be able to kind of I guess help stop him. But
not anymore. There's Black Widow's dead.
Well, I'm saying She-Hulk. She-Hulk might have a chance. I mean, but so any other inputs, or you think you're good?
I think it would be cool if we got World War Hulk. I don't know if we're going to, because they haven't really announced it. I mean, they could still. If they did, then I would definitely feel a lot better about where they're going with him as a character. As of now, though, I just don't know. Like, it could, if they stuck with Professor Hulk for too long and it was really just big CGI green Mark Ruffalo, then like, yeah, I could see like that might maybe getting old, but we haven't had it for that. Like, we've only had him in one project like
that. Well, you're saying World War Hulk. How do you think that? What would be a good way to get him from where he is right now to that? Like, what do you think would have to have happened in order for us to be able to get to that level?
Well, I think the fact they're bringing the Abomination into this, I have a feeling that there will be some kind of rematch between them, and that'll be it might not even be in She-Hulk. It might be something down the road, maybe Thunderbolts or something. But I have a feeling having the Abomination involved is going to lead to us getting the real Hulk back. And now, as for World War Hulk, I have no idea how they could segue into that, because I haven't seen enough of the future projects yet. But I mean, I'm sure they could figure out a way to do it.
Okay. Yeah. So for me,
or just wait and see, I guess.
For me, there's multiple things. Again, it's not that I hate what's going on with him, but you even said it earlier that you're like, oh, they actions speak louder than words. And you mentioned earlier that he does have that line where he's like, I took the brains, I took the bronze, and I made them into one. I feel like they said that, but it doesn't reflect on what we got, because at the end of the day, all that the Hulk was used for in Endgame or technically Infinity War and Endgame was just the snap. I don't feel like
helped figure out time travel too. It wasn't Tony who did it on his own.
Well, yeah, but again, that still goes back to it's not so much he got the brains and the brawn. He just basically has the brains, and
the brains to figure out the time travel and the brawn to withstand the snap of 6 Infinity Stones.
I guess. I mean, I feel like that was more of
he literally
the
said,
gamma
I was
thing.
made for this, like literally.
Yeah, but that wasn't the full strength. That was just the gamma that he claims it's what it gives off. But I see your point. But that's just
we'll
like
see him. We'll see him use his actual strength, like World Breaker Hulk. That'd be cool to see.
That's what I was saying. Like they did do it a little bit, and they did do what they said. It's just I don't.
On it.
Yeah, I just don't feel like they reached that balance like they claimed they did. If you get what I'm saying. But me, I will go back. The first change I would do is, let's say, put more storylines on him. Like you do say that he, what's it called? He isn't that interesting, and I disagree. There are some very notable, cool stories you could have with the Hulk. Obviously, Planet Hulk and World War Hulk being the best ones of them. But there are other stories here and there. Granted, a lot of them are like otherworld ones, like Old Man Logan and Future Imperfect with Maestro. I personally would want to see that. Give me a second.
I want to be clear though. I don't think that the Hulk isn't interesting. I'm talking about how generally audiences weren't responding to him that well. Until he showed up in the Avengers.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but like I'm saying, it's just that they've kind of adapted the wrong versions of Hulk. Like what's it called? They haven't. They kind of just graze over the character and they literally just turn him into a green monster. And there's a lot of complex layers to that. I think Bruce Banner in the comments section earlier, he did mention kind of like the Moon Knight thing. If Marvel could pull that off, then they could go deep into the psyche of the Incredible Hulk. Because when you go to that relationship between him and Banner, a little bit more than what they have, you could have some interesting story. Because Banner is a very broken individual, and that's what results in a lot of the type of stuff that the Hulk kind of channels into. And I mean, there's some storylines where he even goes deep inside himself type of deal, and if I remember correctly, and finds like the Devil Hulk type thing, like a really, really messed up version of the Hulk that's just pure evil. And you have a bunch of storylines that you could get inside of there, not just big green monster. You could get a little bit more complex with the character. And what's it called? And yeah, both Sightings and Clyde and Bruce Banner said the Immortal Hulk run. But yeah, there's a lot that you could tap into. And even if you just want to go the green big monster route, if Universal wasn't there, I would have found a way to just, instead of shoving them into Thor and making Meek and Korg be what they are right now, as more of just like comic relief, I would actually have them be part of the Hulk's Warbound and just have the Hulk kind of find peace to a sense outside of the being around the main heroes, because it feels like he left to the other side of the galaxy and somehow still ended back up with these guys, and now he's ass up, face down, making margaritas and what's it called? And I don't know, it's just, I feel like they could have gotten rid of him for the time being after Age of Ultron and kind of had him do his own thing, that kind of fleshed him out more in both kind of doing it better as finding that inner peace in order to survive the cosmos out there, and then eventually bring him back. I just feel like they got rid of him. You kind of didn't see him till 2017, and then they brought him back. It's like, why get rid of him in the first place type of deal? Either you keep him or you send him away and actually make an arc out of it. But that also would have been...
I would have liked to have seen him, like, the conflict of Bruce, becoming the Professor Hulk, and like maybe going back and forth from being Hulk. Like they definitely glossed over that, and I see why, because of how long the movie was. But it would have been cool. That itself could have been its own movie, really.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And I feel like it would have been better as, as a if he didn't have to come back for Endgame. And I know that it was to feel that like all the OG Avengers are there, but I feel like it came at the cost of making the potentially a character more interesting than it ended up being. And again, not to sound like negative, because I while I'm not super stoked about what they're doing with the Hulk right now, it's not the worst thing ever. I've seen them butcher more characters that mean more to me in the MCU and Netflix. So I'm okay with the Hulk right now, because as much as I like them, they've already butchered like top 3 of my favorite characters. But I still like what the MCU's doing here and there. But
They haven't butchered Nova yet.
Well, they butchered his team so far. I mean, they haven't done anything other than the sad excuse of the Nova Corps in 2014's Guardians.
But they still haven't butchered the Richard Rider yet. So what are the other 3? I know that there's Black Bolt and Iron Fist. Who else is there?
Well, yeah, that technically Nova would have been one of them, because they, not Richard Rider, but I put it as an extension of the Nova Corps, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Richard Rider would be a lot more, of a epic, cooler character than what the Nova Corps is. I mean, they had to show the Nova Corps would easily be able to get decimated by Thanos.
But if the Nova Corps is what it is right now, and Richard Rider comes out of that version of the Nova Corps, that's all we've seen, you could see where I'm coming from.
He can rise above it, make them cool.
Well,
like,
hopefully,
you guys got to be more like me.
Fingers crossed. But
We're nowhere near a Nova project, so
who knows? Maybe we see him in Guardians 3.
We're at least a couple years away from that.
Yeah. But again, hopefully we see him in Guardians 3 or the Christmas special. I don't know. I just hope. I mean, it's gonna be messed up when we see Novar before we see Nova. Like
Novar.
But what's it called? Back to the Hulk. I do think that one of the other major changes that I would do in the MCU for the Hulk is, I'm sorry that trash ass side storyline with Black Widow went absolutely nowhere, and that was just some weird fetish Joss Whedon had. So can that get the hell out of here? Get out of here, freaking weird love story that I don't know. It was just I didn't like it.
What are you talking about?
The Black Widow and him romance that went absolutely nowhere.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere and went nowhere. So it's like that for sure. It was a weird subplot in Age of Ultron. I would have rather they just if I could have done the makeover. Yeah, but it was pointless and took screen time. They could have gone somewhere else.
The way it ended, I agree. Like I didn't mind it while it was happening, because I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Wonder where this is going, and then it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah.
Well, I just found
there's no point of it being there if it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Well, I feel like
the whole point was just to show that like Bruce couldn't have a love interest. That was pretty.
I mean, we kind of got that from the 2008 Hulk, though. We got that he can't have a love interest because he's on the run. Like, he had to be on the run because of the monster. And I just feel
but now he's like in a team, and even him being a part of a team with people that he trusts, he still couldn't, go there. He still couldn't have that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand that the what's it called? That they couldn't go anywhere with it because that was more of like Joss Whedon's baby aspect, or like that was his baby, and then they were like, yeah, it didn't quite hit with people. So just for the fact that where we are now, and now that we know that went nowhere, I would have just rewind and now taken that out, get rid of it, use that screen time for something more interesting. And other than that change, I would, like I said, I would add some of these weird ones, especially since we got to, like, Multiverse of Madness. Maybe not add a whole movie, but, like, right now when we got Phase 5, I would have been, if I was moving the strings and such, I would have had a Future Imperfect movie. Just, like, kind of tease it a little in the, what's it called, in Multiverse of Madness, one of the dimensions they hopped in, just show Maestro, and kind of given that little tease, maybe had them spend like 5-10 minutes in that area and realize it's a terrible place to be in, but then leave that open-ended so that you could have like a good Disney Plus show where they explore that aspect, and eventually maybe it makes its way over to Battle World once we get Secret Wars. But like, yeah, you could have so many characters come in, like Bruce Banner in the comments said, No Rick Jones. So I would want to have like A-Bomb in there. Doc Samson.
I would have liked Rick Jones. Doc Samson. Yep.
Major Talbot. We never got in the leader. We never got anywhere with that. I mean, I feel like that could have been something. Maybe post Age of Ultron, just a little something that led somewhere. But all these characters are sitting on. I would personally start, even if it's not just a Hulk solo movie, because obviously with Thor Ragnarok, they have no issues putting smaller characters and stuff like that in other projects that aren't related to the main character. So I would love to see some of those. We still haven't even gotten Red Hulk. I feel like with William Hurt that they brought back for Civil War. I feel like they've waited a long time. I mean, Civil War is from 2016. That's 6 years ago, and they haven't even teased Red Hulk or anything like that. And I know that situation would have gotten a little bit worse in this case because William Hurt is gone. But I feel like if they were going to bring back that character, it would make sense to start kind of seeing that he's in the background, maybe messing with stuff that he shouldn't, and eventually become Red Hulk. But I don't know. I just feel like there's so much potential that even without making a movie, you could have some of his characters from his comics characters from his comics show up in either shows or some of the other ensemble movies. Even if it was like I don't know, let's say like the beginning of Age of Ultron, where it just goes guns blazing in, and they could have had them fighting the Abomination or someone else and all that, and just this big spectacle of them being a team together versus some of the Hulk's rogues gallery, since they aren't going to be using them anywhere else. Anyone got any conflicting thoughts on what I just said?
No, well, actually, I think you made great points. But the point that Mr. Oman said about character development, I see where he's coming from. I think that what Marvel was doing with the Hulk in terms of developing a unique character in the way that people love him, because like Mr. Oman said, like the first two Hulk movies back in the early 2000s didn't garner a lot of interest, but when Bruce Banner and the Hulk kind of joined the Avengers, back in the day, I think that garnered a lot of interest, and people were kind of interested in Bruce Banner as a person as well as the Hulk. So I kind of agree with him, and Maul was trying to develop, that character between Bruce and the Hulk. But I think it's time for him to kind of re-engage his madness, because it's long overdue. I know that they will do something down in the future, but I think it could be too little too late. I don't know, because people are so used to this whole nice, Professor Hulk type, but when he does change, I think people
Green Giant.
Yeah, exactly. The Jolly Green Giant. But when he finally changes to something more menacing, people might be turned off because of the sudden change. So I don't know. It's kind of a gamble of doing Professor Hulk, at least for like a few years now. So I don't know. So we'll see. But you guys all made great points.
I guess we'll see in She-Hulk. He seems to have at least some sort of, investment in this. So I guess I think with all the same, we'll see what She-Hulk has in store for us to see where Hulk will go from here.
Exactly.
And we'll see if it's for better or for worse. But I don't think we're going to see it until we actually probably see She-Hulk.
But you guys brought up, I'm glad you guys brought She-Hulk, because I was actually going to ask that before we leave. I know Mr. Oyman says he's very confident that they will bring back like a Savage Hulk after She-Hulk and that. Do you guys think that, you and JT, do you guys think that they're actually going to do that? Or do you think that She-Hulk is just going to be passing down the mantle to kind of quietly start retiring that Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo character?
I think they're retiring him.
You think they're gonna?
Yeah.
I think
Go ahead, JT.
I think for me I think it's gonna be both. I think that he will pass down to Manson to Jennifer Walters, but I feel like maybe at the end of She-Hulk, he will slowly transform into the beast that we know and recognize, and he'll just go away. Because I think that I feel like I've hopefully down the road they'll do a lot more projects with like the Hulk, but I feel like at the end of this show, Jennifer Walters would be kind of the jolly green giant, and the Hulk Bruce Banner will be kind of menacing. He'll just go away for a while and do his own thing. So I feel like it's gonna be like both ways.
And Miss Cat, do you agree with that with JT? I know you said that you think they're gonna retire him. Do you think it's gonna be just cut cold turkey after She-Hulk, basically, and maybe one more movie, or do you agree with JT that it's gonna be a little bit more of a transition?
I think it's going to be a transition, but I don't think we're probably not going to see him again after She-Hulk. I think we're kind of finishing up with these characters, like with the main six from the first phase, and so I really think he's just going to like teeter off. Like he's like, all right, I'll be there for you, but you just won't see me. I'll be in the background, I'll be mentioned, but you won't see my face anymore by the end of the show.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, they might not bring back the original Hulk. If not, that would be kind of a shame. I really hope they do, but I mean, at least what we got was really, really cool. Like we got some great Hulk moments that we can always go back and revisit.
Yeah.
I kind of saw, in a way, that them revisiting the 2012 Hulk in Endgame was, in a way, kind of like them possibly saying goodbye to the character, even though I hope they don't, but we'll see. I would like to at least, like, if anything, I would rather that we would get Bruce Banner unleash inner actual Hulk and get like one more badass Hulk moment, and then maybe kill him off or something, and then have She-Hulk take over, give him a proper send off.
Yeah, I agree, because like you mentioned, there are some really cool. There are some really cool scenes with him in the MCU and standout stuff, but at the end of the day, even with the character progression that he did get, it's pretty drastic from the beginning to the to where we are now. I still feel like we haven't ever really reached that tapped into that potential that he has. We barely almost got it. We got some nice shots, but they've never given him his spot to like shine in. He's never gotten fully the spotlight, and it's just because of, unfortunately, rights with Universal, and just the fact that his 2008 movie was not the biggest hit.
Not the best.
Yeah, like people are rewatching it and enjoying it now more, but it's one of those too little too late. So it'd be a shame that if we never get to really see an MCU version to where he's reached his peak the way I personally would think. And if we don't get it in the MCU, I hope at least we get like video game or something. There's so like I mentioned, just a few storylines that would be so great to see either in video game or film, just like a Maestro, Old Man Logan universe with the Hulks, inbred family and all that. There's just some really cool, awesome, brutal stuff that we could dive into and make some good content. So I hope that eventually we do get it. I guess I'll be on the same boat as you, Mr. Oyman, optimistic for the future. But I do feel like they've had some stumbles here and there with the character, and it seems like they just don't know exactly how to handle him as best as they could. But anyone have any more?
I feel like they definitely know how they're handling him, but that's just me.
Okay.
It's not gonna align with how everyone feels about it, but we'll see.
Well, it's a mixed bag out there. Some people are like you and think he's great. I wouldn't say I completely hate him, but I feel like he's been slightly mishandled. And I want to say JT and Miss Cap are on a similar boat as I am. But with that being said, anyone have any last thoughts before we close this episode off?
If you don't like the MCU Hulk or you don't like how he's going, I'm pretty sure there's a show Like, didn't they do a animated show with about Planet Hulk or like about the Hulks, the different Hulks? I believe.
They made a Agents of Smash, but they also did make a Planet Hulk animated movie and a Hulk versus Wolverine and Thor movie 2 animated. Those were actually pretty good.
Yeah, so there are plenty of other different materials, media out there for the different Hulks that you like. And, if you don't like this one, there are others out there.
Well,
and,
you actually made me...
You can explore that.
My final thought, personally, like, I'll keep it at this last thought. You jump-started my memory of what I was thinking earlier. No, I do want to see Savage Hulk back in some sort of way. I don't want this Professor Hulk thing because when Wolverine comes, I want to see him do Wolverine versus Hulk. I want to see the Hulk just unleash on someone that could regenerate and could take being ripped apart and could take on the Hulk.
At least Hulk and Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
But
at least.
It would,
if they're not going to get to Wolverine yet, then at least do
Hulk and Deadpool something. I just want to see a really cool fight scene between either Wolverine or Deadpool, like Mr. Oyman said, against the Hulk. Like these characters that could actually take what he gives to them and actually deal some damage back. It'd be quite a spectacle, and you can't really get that same feel of like. Well, the reason I would want it personally to be Wolverine is because you would get like the animalistic Hulk versus the animalistic fighter as Wolverine, and so you get this this kind of like primal animal just battle going on, like fight to see who's more, I guess, alpha or whatever. And you got a giant monster and a short, like creepy looking dude monster guy, and I don't know that's why I want to see him back, mainly because I want to see that on screen. And I feel like I don't know if we're going to get something like that, unfortunately. But
we shall see.
Yeah. Or another one that one of our commenters said, Bruce Banner again, he says, Thing versus the Hulk. That would be pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They teamed up or went against each other a couple times in the comic. That would be really neat to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, if it's the current Hulk, since he's not as strong as like the 2012 Hulk, that Smart Hulk versus the Thing, I guess, could kind of work out, and it could be like one of their more recent outings where the Thing proved that he could actually beat the Hulk. He just ended up like completely destroying his arm in the process. But no, that'd be some just cool things. That's why I'm hoping that they don't retire this character. I don't feel like they're anywhere near ready to be done with this, but only time will tell. We'll see how the MCU and Disney decide to treat him, and if we get anything cooler past She-Hulk, or even if we don't, let's just see how he is in She-Hulk and go from there.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think it's time to close off this episode. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed what you're listening to. And of course, next Monday we're going to be back as usual at 7:30 Central Time. And let's go ahead and before I appreciate you guys, the panel, I do appreciate everyone who stopped by and listened, especially people like Sightings of Clyde and you, Bruce Banner, just giving us something to talk about. But let's go ahead and start closing down. It was nice to have you, Miss Cap. Mr. Oyman, the best co-host on Marvel Mondays, I guess. Well, we'll see if you become the best co-host ever. But with that Morbius talk a few episodes ago, I don't know.
Oh, hey, you brought him up, not me.
No, I brought him up, but I'm marking
one Morbin time out of me. You just unleashed it now. It's Morbin time.
I'm marking like previous points that were deducted from past episodes, and of course, JT, it was also a privilege to have you here as usual. But sorry, Slucius, I know that you're probably listening to us. I'm sorry that you weren't able to join in. I would have loved to hear what you had to say on this, but I guess I'll get an earful next time we hang out, man. But as usual, thanks everyone for stopping by, and y'all have a fantastic week.
You know how much I sacrificed?